shoes and somebody, to help with the luggage. And I checked all this out beforehand, and it said about travelling after a general anaesthetic, 10 days after your general anaesthetic will be absolutely fine, and that's when the holiday is, 10 days after, so I thought no problem. However, when I spoke to them, they seemed incapable of actually making a decision. It got passed to 3 different managers, and then they decided between them that I needed to get a medical form filled in. Bearing in mind this was Saturday afternoon, or else I wouldn't be able to fly, and I would need that submitting by Monday. They didn't give me a timeline on Monday, but I'm assuming the earlier on Monday the better. So I didn't know whether to book a GP appointment this morning, and then I had doubts about that because I thought, well, I'm not ill, and it's like taking up an appointment that somebody else might need. So I sent them an email. I sent the email on Saturday actually, and while I was waiting for a call back from the doctors, they actually responded in the NHS app just saying I'd need to take the form down to the surgery, so that's where I've just been. And I really tried to plead to their, well, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I tried to plead my case, that's what I'm trying to say. And I said, look, I'd really appreciate it. What makes it worse is the form's about 10 pages long, the bit that the doctor needs to fill in, and it's all irrelevant. It's asking questions like, do I need an oxygen cylinder on board, and ridiculous questions like that. So the doctor's going to take one look at it and think it's a big job, but actually it's not. It's literally just the tick box that says, yeah, fit to fly, and I need the stamp of the surgery on it. So that's where I've been this morning. She's told me that it's a doctor on call. She'll try and get them to fill it in as soon as possible, and then they'll ring me and let me know when it's been done. I did say that I'd got my book and I'd be happy to sort of sit and wait in the waiting room because I live about 3 or 4 miles from the surgery, but she kind of don't think she was keen on that idea. So fingers crossed. I'm trying to sort of just trust it'll all be okay and just accept the situation for what it is, but part of me just think I just wish I'd kept my trap shut and we'd just carry our own cases, and I'd just stand around in them long queues myself, because it's, like I say, it's caused me no end of stress yesterday and today. I've had an upset stomach for 2 days, and I shouldn't even be driving. That's the other thing. I'm not supposed to drive for a week, and it's not quite a week, and that's what I've had to do this morning to get to the doctors to get this form filled in. So I'm going to go home now and have some breakfast and pray that I get that phone call saying that the form's been completed and I can pick it up. And then the next thing is just to email it to Jet2, and apparently they'll give me an immediate decision, hopefully. I can't see what else there can be that's wrong if they get that clearance from the doctor. So hopefully it's all going to be okay. Good morning. It is Tuesday morning. I'm just making a cup of tea. It's about 7 o'clock, I think. I was solo parenting last night because Phil was working away, so that always means that Millie sleeps in bed with me. So not the best night's sleep. She's a bit of a wriggler. lunch. I thought I would update you on the situation with the holiday because yesterday ended up being one of the most stressful days I think I've ever had. So, as you know, I dropped the form at the doctor's and I was waiting for them to give me a call back to say that it had been completed. But what actually happened was I had a phone call saying that the doctor would need to see me, which is fair enough. So they made me an appointment and I went down to the surgery. Now when I got there, it was the on-call doctor, and straight away she said that she wasn't comfortable filling the form in at all. I tried to say to her, look, I've done some research from the General Medical Council. There was no guidelines to say that I shouldn't have been able to fly. And whilst I respect a decision, kind of another part of me thinks that that's part of being a doctor. That's part of the responsibility of being a doctor, being able to, make decisions like that, isn't it? Because the only decision she had to make was, is this person fit to fly? Tick yes, tick no. And she wouldn't make that decision. She wouldn't put herself in that position. So I sort of asked if I could see somebody else, have a second opinion. Anyway, she sent me out of the waiting room. And she spoke to one of the partners at the practice who works at the sort of like the sister surgery, if you like, and said that I would need to go back and see him at 3:15, which is 15 minutes after Millie finishes school, and it's the surgery in town. So I had to ring the school up and tell them that, ask them if I could pick Millie up 15 minutes early. Of course, I'd not been able to prepare her for that, so she was a bit like, when I picked her up, she was like, what's going on? We had to drive into town to the surgery where there's rarely any spaces to park. So managed to wedge myself into a little space. So I was already feeling stressed by this point. But anyway, I saw the doctor and he took on a much more sensible decision-making process. He'd actually got it up on his Google when I walked in. He was Googling whether, when you can fly after a general anaesthetic. And he said, look, there's not really any guidelines. And I said, well, yeah, I've done the same. I've checked out the Civil Aviation Authority and the General Medical Council. And it's basically on a case-by-case basis. Am I fit and healthy? Are there any other aggravating factors? Any other risk factors? So anyway, he was happy to sign it. Thought we were nearly there across the finish line. He said, I will have to charge you for this. I said, no problem at all, £18, fair enough. Went down to reception, me who never carries cash. They'd only take cash. I said, I don't have any cash on me. I said, can I drop it into surgery tomorrow? She said, I can't let you have the form until you paid. So bearing in mind we're in town, there was no point in me driving into town because I was pretty much the same distance away from the nearest multi-storey anyway. So me and Millie had to walk/run to the nearest cash point, which was about half a mile into town. By this point, I'm sure my blood pressure was through the roof because, as well, Jet2 had said that it needed to be completed by 4 days before we fly, and now we were into 3 days plus. Got back to the surgery, got the form, photographed it in the car, emailed it to Jet2, got home, rang them straight up. I said, I was told you'd be able to give me an instant decision. Oh no, it has to go to Mediv something or other for them to assess it and make the decision. So then I've had to wait all overnight. Again, stressing over it. This morning I've had the email to say that I've been cleared to fly. I do not want to do that again. Honestly, that was just so stressful. So yeah, but at least now everything's been declared and I'm fit to fly, and we can go away and have a nice time, and hopefully we can get a little bit of help as well with the luggage, and won't have to stand in any horrendous queues and be argy-bargy about. So that's one less worry off my mind. So yeah, so the end of this vlog will be our first couple of days in Portugal, which is really exciting. So I've gone from being that person that said they never come into town to making my second trip in as many weeks. I've got some returns to do. I bought a skirt from River Island. I don't know what I was thinking. I think because I've lost a bit of weight, I tried it on and it looked really nice, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to buy this because it's different, to anything else I've had. But I don't know, I thought I'm 51 for God's sake, and I'm not going to be going anywhere where I'm actually going to be able to wear that skirt, so it's going back. I've also got a bra to return to H&M and something to return to Marks and Spencer's, and yeah, hopefully not going to be in town too long, although I do need the toilets. I'll try and find some toilets that are reasonably okay.
Hi guys, we're on holiday at the airport and we're going to Portugal, and we're just waiting for our plane and it's just landed, so yeah.
Excited?
Yeah, I'm very excited.